All right. Hello, everybody. This is Ryan. I'm doing a solo show today for Incubator Weekly. And also, I know that we haven't been weekly every week the past little bit. I've taken taken a little break, I guess, for various reasons with the weekliness of Incubator Weekly. But I am back today, and I want to go over today the proposal that I submitted a little while ago called Retain Digital Cash Developer AJ. And I'll go ahead and share my screen right now. So it's just going to be me today. And let's see, zoom into this until that sidebar goes away. So this is the proposal that I'm going to be covering today. And I will try to, I'm sharing my desktop, I'm sharing this window, and I'll mostly be looking at this window today, but I will try to flip back and forth to see if there are any comments or questions in the live stream as well, but it may take me a while to look at those. So yeah, hopefully I can get to any questions that anybody has about this proposal. So just going over the basics, this is just a 1- governance proposal, essentially, going over whether we should retain AJ as a active developer in Dash, and specifically on a few projects that are already proposed. They were proposed last month, and they didn't get funding last month. There's been a lot of discussion about that, and I won't go over all the details. But essentially, there were some personal issues that got in the way of some of the technical merits of the proposals. And with this proposal, I'm asking people to reconsider voting for those proposals because I see high value in them. And with the price increase in Dash, it's possible now that that we can accomplish, or we meaning AJ mostly for the most part here, can accomplish what he proposed originally as 2-month proposals, but within just one payout. So the price has roughly more than doubled, and they were 3 2-month proposals. So each of those 3 2-month proposals can be accomplished with just 1 month, even though the last month didn't pass. If they pass this month, he'll be able to accomplish that scope of work with just the one payment. So that's the premise of this proposal, and here's the background. I won't read the background, but this is basically it. I want to skip ahead to the purpose of the proposal, and then I'm going to also share a quick video of a separate video that I came across just a couple days ago from a YouTuber named Theo, who's one of the more prominent influencers in the JavaScript scene, and as far as I know, like probably in the top 5 in terms of popularity, if not top 3 in terms of popularity, JavaScript programmers. So very influential guy, and he had a video that was kind of relevant to this topic that I wanted to share. And I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and share that right now. This is, unfortunately, I can't just play it from my browser, so I'm going to have to share a separate, I had some technical issues, and I'm going to share a separate screen of this that I'm adding to the stage right now.
But the piece you're all here for, the Rust part. Point 4, enabling community extensions and collaboration. Prisma's architecture has historically limited community contributions, as well as the places you can deploy it, as well as the performance you can expect from it, as well as the reliability. There's a lot of things the architecture was causing problems with. and they are very willing to re-architect. I've seen this from them before, but this is a bold move. Core functionality, such as query parsing, validation, and execution, has been managed by our Rust engine, which has been opaque to our TypeScript-focused community. Expanding capabilities or fixing core issues has often fell solely onto their team. We've addressed this by migrating Prisma's core logic from Rust to TypeScript and redesigning the ORM to make customization and extension easier. They finally did it. They rewrote Prisma at its core and threw out the Rust engine whose days started back in GraphQL. Finally. They don't have performance numbers here yet. They don't have the things you probably want to see. And I'm sorry, I can't tell you how much faster or slower the TypeScript engine is yet. I'm sure this will come up in future videos once they're further along with this work. But considering how much faster Drizzle is, in my experience, than Prisma, I would not be surprised if this comes with a performance win. This is something that Ryan Carniato says a lot. Ryan's the creator of Solid.js, which is the fastest JS framework. And he says that benchmarks comparing a rewrite are often meaningless because the second time you do something, you know so much more about it and you make many fewer mistakes. Even if you work in a slower language, the result is going to be faster just because you are better at doing it and you know more. So my suspicion is even though the language they picked is slower, the thing that is slow in your database connection isn't the language you wrote it in. It's the I/O and the management of these complex queries. None of that is going to be bound on the power of a single CPU thread. There's a lot of opportunity here for better architecture to result in huge performance wins. So I would be surprised if this ends up being slower. I wouldn't be surprised at all if it ends up being meaningfully faster. It'd be pretty cool if it ends up being comparable to Drizzle and other faster ORMs. I think they have a good chance of getting there. So what does this mean for Prisma? It means the core will now be in TypeScript, which is more accessible and open for TypeScript developers. It means that extensibility will now be in the design, where previously that weird way of exposing the API in the Rust part was super opaque, and they even had to work around it. Now everything is built with a focus on extensibility and plugin design, which is huge, and collaborative growth. An approachable code base empowers the community to address issues and add capabilities directly. Yes, I have looked at the Prisma code base and immediately walked out because it was terrifying. And I'm very excited to see how much more approachable this could be. It's important to make sure the solutions you're building that are open source are accessible to the people who are using them in a way that they can understand the code, make changes, and push forward. I'm concerned that this might end up being the same thing that happens with stuff like TurboPack, RSPack, etc. Because we as web devs want these tools because they're really fast for our web dev work, but we as web devs won't contribute to them because they're in languages we don't understand. There are very few devs that understand Rust deeply enough and compilers deeply enough that also care about TypeScript and web dev enough to build something for web devs in Rust. Most of the people who know compilers and Rust really well spend more of their time shitting on TypeScript than they do compiling it. I'm scared there will be a similar problem there where devs don't have interest in contributing to those tools because they're in the language that they're not using. That's what happened with Prisma. It's really, really key that they caught on to this and they're making this change. And as awesome and exciting as it is, I'm scared it might be the writing on the wall that this is going to happen to the other Rust rewrites of tools that we're so hyped about right now. This is one of those takes where I hope I am super fucking wrong. To be clear, I'm not saying this because I want to say fuck Rust. I'm saying this because I'm scared, and I hope this isn't the case. That said, Prisma is absolutely doing the right thing here, and I'm genuinely really excited about it. One quick aside on that point, by the way, Naman, who's the creator of StyleX, one of the industry experts in compiling your TypeScript because he found a way to get styles out of it as a CSS file, lunatic, called out that this point is so much more important than people realize. That being the contribution aspect. Being able to contribute to these things is super, super important, and these Rust rewrites are not considered enough of the risk there. I have a video coming out soon, probably not out yet. Keep an eye out for it. The premise is why JS rewrites in a faster languages might not make a lot of sense. It's focused on the same core theme. JavaScript is, in my opinion, a working class language. It's very forgiving of types. Also, they're not a TypeScript fan, which I know makes it hard to trust them. It's easy to pick up. And since it's supported by browsers, there's a huge pool of people who are conversant with it. For years, we've had both library authors and consumers in the JS ecosystem largely using JS. I think we take for granted what this enables. Mateo from the Node teams quoted saying that most devs ignore the fact they have the skills to debug, fix, and modify their depps. They are not maintained by unknown demigods, but by fellow developers. Yes. And that includes awesome things like patch package, which, to be clear, I'm not saying you should use patch package a whole bunch, but the fact that you can write a patch to one of your dependencies in your Node modules and not have to get it merged or fork the dep, you just make a few changes and now you're good to go. That's huge. It is such a useful thing. You shouldn't use it a whole lot, but at the very least, they make it easy to go file an issue or a pull request, making the change that you made here. There aren't many languages and many ecosystems that make it this easy to change how your deps work. And these are the things we throw away if we're just compiling binaries from Rust. Anyways, back to Prisma. I'm excited for them to move off of Rust because for the first time, it'll be possible to meaningfully contribute. Very exciting stuff.
Now I'm back. Sorry about that. Thanks, Michael Cluster, for telling me that my mic was muted. I was just saying, oh, I hope that wasn't the video that was muted. But just to make sure, I hope that video came through. And also, if anybody has a strong opinion about this proposal, my proposal here, including the 3 proposals that AJ has submitted, I would ask you to first please watch this video. Again, the background is that I didn't give before sharing the video is basically Prisma is an ORM, which object relational mapper. You can think of it kind of like an SDK for databases. They had their engine, their core engine was written in Rust, and they've decided to go back from Rust to TypeScript. And the main thing, as my screen is sharing here, the main reason is to enable this community extension and collaboration part. So if you need to go back up the video later on or rewatch it, that's kind of what it's all about. It's this idea that JavaScript developers are JavaScript developers. They're not Rust developers. And if you want to have a project that enables contributions from other JavaScript developers, TypeScript developers, and the ability to like debug their code on their own and not feel like they have to just kind of bow down to the demigods of the Rust developers that have given this package, this binary that is kind of a black box to them, and they have to throw their hands up and say, I don't really understand this part of it, so I can't really help fix this problem myself or add to it, contribute to the project. That's kind of what this is about. So anyway, I'm moving on to back to the purpose of this proposal. Again, there's actually several parts of this proposal. It's asking for it's asking people to vote on not only this proposal itself, but also to go back and reevaluate these proposals by AJ, and change votes if necessary, add your votes. This is the idea of this is what we're committing to do. I wrote this a while ago, hoping that we would have some votes. We would have passing proposals earlier on so that AJ could just start right away. It looks like it's going to go down to the wire, as it always does. That's fine. So that was this first bullet point, is that he'd start working on these proposals when they were in passing criteria. That's kind of a moot point at this point. But this I already talked about, that he'll basically complete these proposals within one payment instead of two. And then this was just related to the background of the proposal, that, you know, we need to move forward, focusing on technical aspects rather than personal disagreements. And then here for this vote interpretation, it looks like some of this text is getting cut off, so I'm going to zoom out and see if that fixes it. Yeah, the conclusion's cut off as well. Hopefully that's big enough. I think it probably is. So for this particular proposal, if I see people voting yes for this proposal, well, let me just do it in the order that it's written here. So the first thing I want people to do is, like I said, reconsider voting yes on these three proposals. If that happens, then that means if you want to vote yes, you like the technical merits of those proposals, regardless of AJ's personality. I know he's hard to work with. I know more than anybody that he's hard to work with, because it's hard for me to work with him, even being on his team. It doesn't matter to me. I look over those things. I look past those things. I look at the technical merits. So that's what I'm asking you guys to do as well, is look at the technical merits of these proposals, and vote yes on his proposals if you agree with those. You won't have to work as closely with AJ as you may have in the past. I think we're going to probably keep a little bit further distance, just because I know people have personality issues with him. Votes for this proposal, this meaning this digital cash retain, this proposal that we're looking at. You vote yes on this, even if you don't, even if you don't support any of AJ's existing proposals. I'm still asking for you to vote yes on this proposal if you want him to keep submitting other proposals. Maybe you like, you want him to continue doing other things, but not necessarily these three things for which he has proposals up right now. That's fine. So vote yes on this proposal, and vote, however you voted, whether that's abstaining or no or whatever. And then if I see people that are voting, if all the proposals end with a no vote, so yeah, like this is kind of, it's going to be hard for AJ to want to continue to work for Dash if all of these proposals end with no votes. That kind of means that no, it's not just those three proposals I don't like. I just don't like AJ, and I don't want him working on the project anymore. I think that would be very sad, but I want to know that. Like, if that's how people feel, please vote no for this proposal as well, so that I can know I need to move on, find other developers, find a different path forward, because I'm committed to serving Dash. I think that AJ contributes a ton of value and could in the future as well. But if that's not what the network wants, then please let me know. Yeah, I think I covered this. Yeah, just comment on what you'd like us to propose again. So backing up again and zooming back out again, AJ and I both see huge potential in Dash, and my target focus is web developers. I think that's what Dash platform was pitched as. Like the whole premise of Dash platform was that instead of having developers need to learn Solidity or Rust, learn Solidity, one of these low-level languages, they can just, let's see, is there any way to, I guess I'll just be me here. Instead of having developers need to learn a very low-level language to make a decentralized application, You can store your data and build decentralized applications using decentralized infrastructure, using your own language. That's kind of how it started. And right now, I feel like the focus has moved a little bit from that target market of traditional web developers to just Rust developers. And I know that's a little bit of an extreme interpretation of it. I'm not saying that's it exactly, but I'm saying we may have lost focus on the web developer use case and target market. So I'm going to take some time now to look at some of the comments, see if there's any questions that I missed. Let's see. One time says, you guys seem undaunted by the complexity of Evo and critical of DCG for bringing for Evo being complicated. Let's hope this can be done as easily as you're expecting. I don't expect this to be easy, because I do know that that Evolution Evo-platform has been architected and created in a way that is not conducive for web developers in their native tools. So instead of like a JSON RPC, for example, it's using protocol buffers and things like this. So it's not using web technologies that web developers would be able to easily interact with. I know that the purpose of the SDK is to abstract away those complications and to make it easier, so that web developers can use import a JavaScript SDK and then they'll be on their way. And we have one of those already. We have a JavaScript SDK. We tried it. We used it. And I think everybody agrees, including Dash Core Group, that existing JavaScript SDK is not adequate. And so instead of fixing that, even DCG has decided, I think, to re-architect that as well. So they're back to the design stages for building a JavaScript SDK, but it will be created in a similar way where you have WASM bindings, JavaScript bindings to a WASM core. And this has pros and cons. One thing that I haven't really scheduled for this call today to talk about, but maybe I'll just mention it in passing today, or right now, since it's on my mind. There was somebody that was asking about, I'm bringing up Discord right now so that I can refresh my memory on what this guy was talking about. Joseph Marshall, let's see if I can copy a link to this, copy message link. I can probably get this shared with the window that I've already shared. This is Discord. I use the normal native app for Discord. Continue in browser. It's making me register and log in. I think this is probably worth it. So I'm going to go through this. I'm scanning a QR code to log in on my desktop here. Hopefully this will work. Okay. Oops. Yes, log in. Okay. All right. Now I got to share my screen again. Here we go. And let me zoom in. It's not doing the zoom that I wanted it to, but that's okay. This developer, can people read this? Let me zoom in a little bit more. This developer says, hi all, I'm working on a Flutter implementation of DAPI client. I have success with DAPI gRPC endpoints, core and platform, as well as stream, now working with state transition. Does anyone have an example or some hints of how to create assign a state transition? There's some info in the docs, but I haven't been able to get it working. Hash Engineering from Dash Core Group says state transitions are quite challenging due to the serialization for signatures. Are you working on identity creation? And he goes on to say, some things, posts some messages that he's getting. Our good friend Mikhail Shenmik says it's not simply a JSON, it's bin code encoded Rust serialization library. He says, I missed that in the docs, and I clarifying that it's actually not in the docs. But basically, and I say here, I don't think it's DCG's intention to have people implementing clients in their own languages. Rather, the intent is to use bindings to their Rust/WASM SDK. And he says, okay, are there Flutter bindings? And I said, no. Is it on the roadmap? I don't think it is. And I saw him typing after I saw this message, after I wrote this message, and I was a bit, short with him. And I just think that it's important to be honest about the trade-offs. So the trade-offs when we have one SDK is that people that want to interact with Dash platform in other languages, they are not able to. So what we have currently is we have a Rust SDK, and then the path forward is to create bindings in different languages. So if you have a Flutter app, then you would need a Flutter SDK to interact with Dash platform. And similarly, if you have an iOS app, then you would need an SDK for iOS apps. And Kotlin for Java, Kotlin for Android, and so forth. JavaScript for the browser and Node.js. And if one of these is not on the roadmap, somebody else has to make those bindings, which is possible, but it's going to be difficult. Or we wait for DCG to make them. So this is just one more example. I don't know who this is, but it's just one example of the trade-offs that are involved with this approach. Now, if let's see, I'm going to go back to just me, I guess, for now. Let's see. Sorry, I'm a sole operator today, so it's a bit tricky for me to navigate everything here. So let me go back to the comments. I think if Evo had been built in a less complicated way, then it wouldn't be as good. But criticizing Evo for its complexity now just doesn't make much sense to me. No. So I'm not. I'm. You can say it's criticizing. I'm just saying there are trade-offs, and trade-offs that don't necessarily have to be trade-offs. So that's the whole idea with SDKs is you can have different SDKs for different value scales and different use cases. Okay, so screen ship the Discord and then open that image. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I know, Michael. So anyway, I think I'm caught up on comments. So I'll go back to my screen share here, and go back to, these are the three proposals that AJ has. I think we've talked enough about these that I'm not going to go into each of these per se, but I do want to share them on the screen briefly. the main idea with these three proposals is to make things easier for web developers, like I've said before. And the other thing that I wanted to note is that a very, very small part of these proposals is dealing with this JavaScript SDK part. So these two proposals have nothing to do with that. They are trying to help web developers by bringing the different protocols that we use in Dash to web environments. And so in that respect, it's all the same theme about helping web developers. But in terms of the JavaScript SDK, that's only this third proposal. So here's this first proposal, and then this second proposal is is not related to the JavaScript SDK at all. So I just want to make sure that people know that you can vote on these proposals separately. You don't have to vote on them as a block. It's only this third proposal that has anything to do with the web SDK. And once again, this is not proposing to make an entire web SDK at this point. It's the first step for that. So this hyphen is important. Develop web SDK hyphen platform ID with Explorer. So this is not a whole web SDK. It's literally just the first part as somewhat of a discovery phase of how difficult it would be to do a full SDK. We need to do the first few steps to know how difficult the next steps will be. And part of this will be documenting the serialization issue, like what data is actually in these messages. So when we're talking about this guy back here, this Joseph Marshall guy, if he knew what actually was being serialized, it's not just a hex encoding of a JSON object, which he assumed it was. It's actually bin code, but that's not documented very well. And so, if nothing else, AJ's work could help to document those messages so that other people in other languages could actually make clients in their own language. That would be a benefit. So AJ's work, just to summarize, AJ's work would actually help this guy in what he's trying to do. So it's not actually just exclusively for web developers. I don't personally have any particular interest in Flutter. I don't like Flutter really, but everybody's got their own preferences, and that's what this is all about. If this is an open protocol, then we should be enabling people to work with that in the way that they want to and in the languages that they're comfortable with. Let me just go ahead and share this for documentation's sake. The three proposals that we're talking about here are right here. You can see the P2P and ZMQ Explorer is relatively more popular up here. And then these two are about the same. So I'd like all three of these proposals to pass. And I don't think that that's too high of a cost personally. As I was talking about before, AJ does have a lot of other ideas. So this isn't this web SDK thing, which we've talked a lot about, and it's become kind of like a big thing. But this isn't really AJ's thing. Like he isn't personally driving this. It's actually me that's personally driving the need for this. He's just helping me out, and by proposing this work. So, like I said earlier, if you don't like, if this is too controversial for you, then you can vote yes on this retain DCD AJ proposal, and that will give me and him a signal that, hey, it's it's just this issue. We're going with DCG on this, and that's fine. MNOs make the choice, right? That's what this DAO is all about. I'm trying to give people information to make an informed decision, but it's up to you guys. But like I was saying, like, he's got a lot of other ideas to help Dash, and so this is just a very small part of his ideas. Actually, most of the things that I have in mind are things that we've just discussed personally, but aren't. He doesn't have draft proposals for. I just wanted to show that he's got some draft proposals for other things as well. Let's see. I think we already looked at this. This is just the article that that Theo went over. This was part of his video that he was discussing, so I figured I'd just kind of look at this real quick. He talks about how people are starting to become skeptical of all these rewrites in Rust, and this is a totally different guy. Like, I don't really know this Nolan Lawson guy, but he's probably pretty popular if Theo's talking about him. And he basically is talking about the idea that everybody's writing everything in Rust and Zig and Go to gain performance wins, and there's no doubt about that sometimes you do gain performance wins, but the issue is sometimes there are trade-offs and unintended consequences of doing this. And one of the big ones that he emphasizes here is this idea of having developers be able to contribute and debug their applications in a way that they're comfortable with. So I won't really go over this word for word, but I'm just going to skim through this just to see if there's anything I wanted to highlight. Yeah, this breaks down if JavaScript library authors are using languages that are different. He talks about how it's easy to modify your dependencies if you run into an issue. Yeah, I don't think JavaScript is inherently slow. That's probably true. Yeah, I also think as a community, we have not grappled with what the world would look like if we relegate JavaScript tooling to an elite priesthood of Rug and Zig developers. I can imagine the average JavaScript developer feeling completely hopeless every time there's a bug in one of their build tools. Rather than empowering the next generation of web developers to achieve more, we might be training them for a career of learned helplessness. So that's more of like the JavaScript ecosystem issue, not necessarily a specific to what we're talking about here. But I think this last paragraph is pretty relevant. I can't help but feel like we're embarking down an unknown path with unintended consequences when there's another path that's less fraught and could get us nearly the same results. And that's kind of relevant. I would say that's very relevant to the SDK issue here. There are different ways to go about security and getting what you need done, and there are trade-offs. That's what engineering is all about, is dealing with trade-offs. It's not necessarily that one is better than the other. So anyway, that's enough about that article. One other thing that I wanted to highlight is this. I've opened up this plot. This is starhistory.com. I just wanted to give people an idea of, like, AJ, he has a different approach to things. AJ is very focused on building tools that make that have utility and that help people get their job done. So what we're looking at here is one of the packages that AJ has out right now. So he has a package called Web Install. Some of you may have used it to download Dash itself. Let's see. Let's just go there real quick. Web install .dev, I believe. So this is the simple tool that he built, and it's for developer tooling. It helps you install packages from on a virtual machine, but package. Let's see. Yeah. Install developers tools with easy to remember URLs. So this is just an example of something that AJ has done that is objectively valuable, right? So he's pretty, not only is he influential in the JavaScript circles and community, he hosts a podcast, a JavaScript podcast, but objectively the things that he builds are useful. And so that's what he's trying to bring into Dash. This is the tool that he's built, has over 2,000 stars. And just for comparison, this is all of Dash. This is the Dash Pay, Dash, the stars that Dash has received. And this is probably mostly people who have a vested interest in Dash as investors. So 1,500 stars on Dash's core software, the Dash D. And AJ's project, I know they're different. They're totally different projects, so it's tough to compare. I'm just bringing this up because, like him or hate him, AJ knows how to build tools that speak to people and that people find useful. This is like a meme stock here, going up to the sky. And this, by comparison, is Dash Platform. And obviously, we don't expect Dash Platform to have the kind of stars that something like Webby might have, because it's a different class of users, I'll just say. And a lot of people that are interested in cryptocurrencies aren't necessarily going to GitHub to star the packages that they like, right? But that is the whole purpose behind Dash Platform, is to appeal to web developers or developers in general. So GitHub is used by all kinds of developers, not just web developers. And if Platform is to be popular, then we are trying to make it popular among developers, and you would expect to have some kind of popularity reflected in the GitHub star count. So as a side note, if you haven't already, go star both of the repositories for Dash so that we can get these numbers up a bit. My point with this is just to say, AJ does know how to build tools that attract developers and that the developers find extremely useful. This is proof of that. Now, the last thing that I wanted to cover in this show, it's getting a little long already, but the last thing I wanted to cover is some scenarios about how you might vote this cycle. So this is just a spreadsheet that I have of all the current proposals that we have up right now. And these are 3 columns showing the different scenarios that we could that people can vote on to use the Treasury in the most maximal way, I'll say. So like, it's no secret that MNOs do typically try to fit as many proposals in as they can. And I think that that's actually a good sign. That shows that MNOs do value the work of developers. But there are always trade-offs in what we fund as well. And so this month is no different in that respect. So let's just go over these scenarios real quick. Actually, let me check the comments real quick to see if anybody has questions. Let's see. Real quick here. Your comment I'm responding to is the more complex the system is to use, the more poorly that reflects on creators. I think. Okay, so yeah, that's yeah, I do. This is a comment that people don't really have a lot of context to. So I guess I'll just since I covered this, I'll just bring up the context. This is so when people, well, let me back up here. Traditionally, software is often divided into a split system where you have a server and you have servers and clients, and or in other words, you have services and clients consuming those services. Now, it's one thing to have something that's a complex service to build, but that is very easy to use. And it's another thing to have something that's a complex system to use. And so the more complex a system is to use, the more poorly that reflects on the creators. Yes, I do stand by this. This is what I said, I think, personally. So yes, if it is in the end, let's say after all is said and done, and we have a JavaScript SDK, if that is complex to use, if it's complicated to use that, then yes, it has that has been a failure of the creators. So I guess I don't know. All I can say is I still stand by this statement. Whether that's a criticism of DCG, I don't know. You make the call on that one. I don't think Evo's complex design reflects poorly on the creators. Let's see. I don't think Evo's complex design reflects poorly on its creators. Complexity in design is probably necessary for Evo to be good. Yeah. So some things are complex to create. There's no doubt about that. Nobody is disputing that. But all things that are complex to create should at least be simple to use. I think the best example of this is like Apple with an iPhone, for example. Like nobody would know how to create an iPhone, obviously, but they go through a lot of pain to make it easy to use, so that you don't even need an instruction manual. You know, back in the day when you'd have something that was complex, it would come with this huge instruction manual. That's not the case anymore. Like nobody's reading instruction manuals anymore. You have to have a product that is just simple to use without any instructions. So anyway, I think I've covered that enough. Let's go back to this the spreadsheet here. So for anybody who doesn't already know, the way that this spreadsheet is organized, by the way, let me just, I don't know why that went unbolded, but on the top here, we have the current proposals that are already up and that were, I guess this technically goes down here because I submitted this proposal this month. Let me just fix that real quick. So these are submitted proposals that were submitted this month. So I submitted my retained DCG AJ proposal this month. And we've got some 3 different proposals from Mikhail, 2 different proposals from Joel, and then DCG has 2 supplemental proposals this month. Their other proposal, their main proposal is right here, and this is, I think, the 3rd month of a 3-month proposal. So that's already there. But there are different ways to vote these proposals. So, for example, if you wanted to go with the I want DCG to have as much funding as they can have, like as much potential funding as they can have. Then you would obviously vote for their main proposal, and you would vote for their 2 supplemental proposals. Now that would result in DCG having 72.5% of all of the funding this month. And if your goal is to maximize DCG's funding, that's a good way to do it, 74.5%. If, on the other hand, you don't necessarily want that, and let's just say that you want to support their. Oh, and by the way, this is the amount of dash that is left in each of these scenarios if each of these proposals passes. So the check mark means these are proposals that are assumed in the scenario to be passing. And so if we uncheck this proposal, for example, this second supplementary proposal from DCG asking for 175 dash, uncheck that, and now there are 175.2 dash remaining. And then there might be room, for example, for let's say AJ's digital cash dev is AJ. That would leave room for 175 here. So you could check these 2, and then you would be back down to leaving 0.2 dash in the budget. So that's like scenario A, and I guess a second version of A, where in that first version you vote for both of the supplemental proposals, and that would then knock out these 2 proposals by AJ, and that's one way to go about that. And I'll just I guess I'll back that up. So that's one option. That's like the DCG maximalist option. Then there's this scenario B, where let's say let's just fund DCG for their first supplemental, which, by the way, is like more than they've had their supplementals in the past, even without considering the increased price of dash. But regardless, let's say you wanted to approve that, and that would then leave room for this proposal, and these 2 proposals. But VJ's backports assistance proposal would not fit, for example. And let's see, neither would Evolution Marketing War Chest number 2, for example. There is another option that I would just wanted to make people aware of. If they do want to try to give some supplemental funding to DCG, again, even though there's extra supplemental already built into their current proposal, which used to be 60%, which is now 65%. This proposal, this main proposal, used to be 60%. Last 2 months ago, they increased it to 65%. I didn't hear much talk about it, but they did it. I thought it might have been a mistake at first, but it turns out it was intentional, because funding was not. That's back when the price was still at like 20 something, low 20s. So they decided it was necessary to do that. That's their decision. And then also Kitty Whiskers Van Gogh has his other proposal. He's working for Dash Core Group. These proposals go to the same address. So anyway, there's some supplemental built into this already if you use 60% as your baseline. But even beyond that, if you did want to give DCG an extra supplemental with this, you could have this scenario where you have DCG funding their second supplementary proposal, but not the first one. So this one's not checked. This one is checked. So they get 175 supplemental, and that would allow room for both of Joel's proposals, all of Mikhail Shenmik's proposals, and all of AJ's proposals, and VJ's BTC backport assistance proposal. So there is this scenario. This is my ideal scenario. This scenario C, where DCG gets a supplemental, and everything else can fit in the proposal, the budget that is basically asking. Like, this is the only thing that you would have to do is you would have to defund this 4- proposal from AJ, which is currently not passing anyway. So that's what I wanted to highlight with this. I don't know if people have seen this option in their head, because I don't think people have spreadsheets that they're using with stuff like this. Is something I had to create a long time ago to try to orchestrate incubator proposals and things, and make sure that we weren't stepping on too many toes, things like that. So anyway, yeah, this cycle, you can have, if you're in support of AJ's work, you want to show that you support VJ's backporting assistance, which he's continued to do, even though he hasn't been funded for a long time for doing it. You want to support Mikhail and Joel, all of those proposals. The only thing you have to do is vote for the second supplementary proposal by DCG, and that lets everything fit. So I think that's enough about that. Let me go back and see if there are any other questions. Michael Cluster says DCG have two supplemental proposals. WTF? Yes. And the description for those proposals, the reasoning behind that is the description in the proposals from DCG. So you can see what Sam's reasoning was for that. But like I said, you can choose which one or both or neither you want to fund. I think it's highly unlikely that neither supplemental proposal would pass, even though there's supplemental built into their existing main proposal here as well. And the price is over doubled. So there's definitely, like, yeah, DCG is in surplus at the moment, assuming that the prices stay where they are right now. Now, I understand the need to build a buffer. I really do personally. So I don't fault DCG for wanting to build a buffer and requesting more than their burn rate, because Incubator has had to do that in the past as well. And that's the only reason that we've survived as an organization, is that we had buffers to help survive some of this downturn that's been way longer than I think anybody was expecting. Yeah. And then so One Time says DCG's supplementals are usually supposed to be leftovers after whatever they expect will pass, but this month there's more uncertainty, I guess. And now that's what last month was. So last month, DCG had some really tough decisions to make. Last month they had some tough decisions to make because they were in. It's hard to believe, but just a month ago, less than a month ago, I'm just checking right now. Less than a month ago, the price was $25 per dash. Let's just say about half of what it is now. And when the proposals were submitted, it was about half. So yes, last month, they did have to break their general rule of not requesting funds that were already requested. That's what they used to do. They used to not even request supplementals that were competing with other proposals. They've gone against that. They went against that last month because of legitimate funding constraints. So they would have to fire people if they didn't do that. And that's also why Kitty Whiskers Van Gogh, KWVG, submitted his own proposal. But that is not the case this month. This month, they could definitely have not submitted any supplemental proposals, and they would have had more dash than their current outflow, their current burn rate this month, because the price is more than doubled. So this month is not a funding squeeze. This month is like, we want to, I'm assuming it's DCG saying, we want to build our reserves. So let's see. I'll leave it there, I think. Let's see. I think I'm caught up on all the comments. Remove this, and I'll go back here. So yeah, I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for you to support AJ. I think he's valuable to the community. I don't see any reason that we should not fund him this month in terms of funding budget constraints for DCG. That's not an issue this month. So I appreciate the support. I appreciate everybody who's made it this far into the video. I know it's been a long one. It's been over an hour. I appreciate you guys for watching this, and let me know if you have any questions. Write them in the video description or on Dash Central, whatever, Discord, whatever you want. I'll be paying close attention for the next couple days, especially as the vote's coming to a close in 2 days. Thanks, everybody.